After struggling with video game addiction for over 5 years, last week I made an effort to take 90 days off gaming for the last time. In this video, I'll share the 5 things that I've learned in my first weeks free of video games and how I'm coping with life after gaming. Now, some of you will have seen me before, some of you will recognise who I am. I'm James. I run the podcast for game quitters called Gaming the System, as well as doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, and I've also made a couple of videos on YouTube. Now, I've been part of the game quitters community for 5 or 6 years now. I've gone in and out of gaming for a number of years, and I think the longest I've gone is just over a year. But the last few months, I tried to do something that I've never really done before, and that's to play in moderation. After many weeks of experimentation, and I realized it's finally time for me to accept that the life that I want to create for myself isn't going to be possible unless I overcome my gaming addiction. So last week, I made a concerted effort, one last attempt to go through the 90-day detox following the Respawn program from Game Quitters and making a real effort at doing it, throwing myself into every activity, into new situations, making new friends, and doing whatever I can to avoid gaming, as well as gaming-related content. So the number one biggest thing that I've learned over the last week is just how random cravings will hit you. Now, everyone who's quit video games will have experienced cravings. Whether you're 1 week in, 3 months, or even 3 years, everyone gets cravings to play. But what I'd forgotten, because it's been a long time since I really quit video games for good, is just how randomly these cravings will affect you. I mean, I might be washing the dishes, doing the laundry, trying to fall asleep, or even in the shower, and suddenly my mind will be filled with thoughts of games I used to play, such as Dark Souls or Skyrim. I'd be imagining myself going through fighting bosses, going through the corridors, and even just for a split second, these thoughts will pop into my head. And for that brief moment, I'll have the urge to go back and install the game and play. It's definitely been the hardest part of this first week, and I know I have many more weeks to go, but it's something that I've been struggling with a lot, and I think a lot of people who have gone through the same thing can empathize with greatly. Number 2 is to actively fill your time with new skills. Now, many people who quit video games know that they have to fill their time with new hobbies, but a lot of people do it in the wrong way. People will quit gaming and then suddenly expect them to take up their new hobbies, such as learning an instrument, or doing self-defense, or going to the gym, in their free time where they would have been gaming instead. But in reality, because they're waiting for them to act in the moment and to do things without really planning it, they usually just spend their time mindlessly browsing the internet. And I've done it before. I've told myself that when the time comes, you'll go to the gym, you'll go to that event, you'll go and take part in that class with other people, but in reality, that just doesn't happen. You need to schedule your activities ahead of time. You need to tell yourself that on Wednesday in the evening at 7 p.m, I'm going to go to this class, I'm going to tell someone about it, I'm going to book myself in and make a real effort to go. Even if it's just one thing a week that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, that's enough to start with. So I've been making sure that I know exactly when I'm going to be going to the gym, when I'm going to be doing my hobbies, when I'm going to be working, when I'm going to social events with my girlfriend, and it leaves a lot of the decision making out of the equation because we're pretty bad at making decisions when it comes to it. So everything you can do to reduce that factor is huge. Number 3, and this is kind of riding on the previous point, but it's to be more social. When we're playing video games for 12 hours a day or 4 hours a day even, it's difficult for us to be social, to get out of the house, to get ourselves out of our comfort zone. What ends up happening is we become more reclused, we start living with our own thoughts more than we should, and for a lot of people who've been in that situation, I know I have, our thoughts are not a good place to be at the worst of times, and sometimes not even at the best of times. So everything you can do to fill that human need for connection that we crave so much. You might not think of yourself as a social person, but human beings need social connection. No matter what you think, it's vital to our nature, as our core principles of human beings. We need to be with other people. Even if it's just a few times a week, if you do a social event. It'll make such a huge difference. I guarantee it. Fortunately, I have a girlfriend. I've got friends here in Thailand that I can hang around with and go and meet up with, even if it's just go to a bar or something, because Thai culture is pretty heavy on drinking and dancing and partying. But while that might not be my scene, I can still go for a beer and I can still go to events. I've got my language class, and this is one of the big hobbies I've taken up, is learning to speak Thai. And in my language class, I got 10 or 12 people, and it makes a great opportunity to be a part of social events and to regularly talk to people who have similar interests. And it's made such a huge difference for me in this first week alone. Number 4 on the list is to change your environment as often as you can. We always recommend for people who are struggling with cravings and urges to change up their environment. Get to a place where it's impossible for you to play video games. Whether this is a coffee shop, which is my personal favorite, just to go and read a book, or go to a library or a museum, or even just go and explore your city. Whatever it is, get yourself out of the headspace that you're in when you're finding yourself attacked by those cravings. If you're staying at home all day, 6 hours a day or more, it can be incredibly difficult to get out of that mindset and avoid video games for that 90 days. I mean, you can probably see it now. I've got a desk set up in my flat now, which makes it more likely for me to stay at home. So I have to be more conscious about this than ever. It's really important. Even just going for a 20-minute walk every few hours or something similar is going to make such a big difference to your overall mental well-being and clarity and productivity and everything else you can imagine. And finally on this list, number 5 is to enjoy the process. Now this is something that I've internalized a lot more recently after reading the 1% Rule. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend anyone check it out. It might sound like another self-help nonsense book, but it's been written in a way that's so concise and so clear and so easy to understand that even for someone who's read a lot of those kind of books, it helps put this information in a way that you've never really seen it before. It's all about shifting your mindset from focusing on the end goals, focusing on the specifics of what you're doing in your activities, and learning to love the process. When we quit gaming, it's so hard for us to take up new activities because video games make everything seem boring. They're so hyper-stimulating that whenever we try to take up new hobbies, we're so annoyed with the progress we're making. It's so slow. We're a beginner in this activity, and instead of being in a video game where we can make huge progress in such a short space of time, instead we have to work at it for months and years even. But this book has really helped me change my mindset on that, and instead of thinking I'm not good enough at learning Thai, it's been 3 weeks since I started doing my classes, instead I'm learning to love learning. I'm a person who loves learning, but I've always thought of it from a logical standpoint. I've always used learning as a way to get something back. So learning to code, for example, I always used it as a way to get a new job, to get out of my situation where I was living back at home, working as a waiter. Similarly for things like photography or certain marketing skills that I've used in my job every day, I never really learned them just to learn. There was always an ulterior motive behind them, but now I'm learning just for the sake of learning, and it's made such a big difference for me. I keep repeating that line, made such a big difference, but these things really have shifted my mindset and really helped me make this first week off video games so much better, like noticeably different. And it's really helped improve my life, and I highly recommend you even just do some research about it online, the 1% Rule, and learn to love the process, learn to love learning. Thanks for watching this video. If you're interested, I've actually started up my own YouTube channel. I'm doing a daily vlog about my 90-day no gaming detox. I plan on releasing 90 episodes over these 90 days. I've done 6 so far. Number 6 went live yesterday. It was all about how I'm struggling with my phone, but I've also talked about how I'm battling cravings, what my morning routine's like, and how I'm setting my day up for success. If you're enjoying this more vlog-style content, make sure you go and check it out. I'd love for you to check it out. It'd really mean the world to me. But as always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and let me know in the comments down below, what's the biggest thing that you've noticed after quitting video games, whether it's for 1 week, 1 year, whatever. I want to know about it. Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to stay notified of any videos in the future. But until next time, peace.